Hey guys, it's Alex with Hammond Watch. I'm here with the Timex Hodinkee collaboration. It's a really neat vintage inspired watch. I love the aesthetics and I think it comes in at a really reasonable price point, so I wanted to share it with you today. We'll start with the sizing. Being a vintage inspired watch, it is a little bit more traditionally sized. You're looking at a 38 millimeter case with a thickness of 11.75, a lot due to this domed acrylic crystal. You have a 5 millimeter push-pull crown, 50 meters of water resistance, so you're good in rain and washing your hands. But in general, I would probably wear something else for any water activities. Your lug tip to lug tip is 47.5 millimeters, and then you have an 18 millimeter lug width. This stretch bracelet, which to me really is a highlight of the watch, flares out to 21 millimeters before tapering down to right around 15.75. You'll see there's no stretch in the pieces at the very bottom of your wrist. All the stretching is on the side, but this should fit most wrists out of the box. It's probably going to pull a little bit of arm hair. But in general, I do think it's one of the more comfortable bracelets that you're going to find on a watch that retails for under $200. The case back is very typical of a Timex. You have your battery window so that you're able to do battery swaps without removing the full case back. If you did need to remove the full case back, it's just 4 flathead screws, so incredibly simple. You have just general specifications referencing, material used, water resistance, assembled in China, and then you'll see bracelet in China and movement Japan. This watch runs off a Miyota M230. There's not any real stated accuracy on that movement, but I've had the watch for a few weeks now, and if anything, maybe it's lost a second. But in general, it really looks spot on. Being a more affordable quartz watch, this is really all about the aesthetics, and I think they nailed it. First of all, I love the finishing. I think the brushing goes very well into the bracelet with the polished top surface. You have a bi-directional friction fit bezel, so no clicks, but you are able to get perfect alignment, which is nice. I love the acrylic crystal. Not only does it give that kind of vintage inspired look, but I always appreciate the acrylic crystals because they're very warm to the touch. If you're ever working and place your hand over your wrist, sapphire crystals run a little bit cold. Something about this warm to the touch feel just reminds me of vintage watches. You have a pie pan dial, so as you get to that minutes or seconds ring, the dial does slope down just a little bit. Which with the domed crystal is pretty amplified. I think it gives it a really nice charm. I love the crosshairs, separating the dial for what would otherwise be a pretty plain design. You get your water resistance reference and some Hodinkee branding as well. The hands, I think, look phenomenal on this watch. Your minutes hand runs all the way out to the track, and you have a nice lollipop seconds hand. There is lume, not a ton of it, but you do have a dot at each index and then lume on the hands as well. Nothing really to write home about, but I think for what you're paying, it's certainly adequate. Here we are on my 7.5 to 7 3/4 inch wrist. Watch fits extremely nice. I maybe have just the tiniest bit of stretch, but the watch still moves relatively freely, so not tight by any stretch. I think it looks great. It's got a great profile, extremely comfortable. And you'll notice that even at 38 millimeters, it doesn't feel or look like a petite watch. It still has a pretty nice substantial footprint. I think if you were to change the strap to something that was 18 all the way out, it may feel a little bit small. So if you're planning on going that route, I would look for something that does flare out just a little bit so that you're kind of following this same line and keeping a little bit of that bulk. So here's a quick shot of the lume. As I mentioned, it's adequate, not stellar. You're going to get a couple hours of low light legibility, but in general the glow does fade relatively quickly. I was hoping to get this video out before these watches sold out on the Hodinkee website. Unfortunately, I was unable to do so. I figured these would be around a little bit longer. They are limited edition, but they're not numbered and there's not a stated amount. A lot of times with some of the more affordable Hodinkee releases, you'll see them stick around for a few months, and I think the Waterbury might still even be available. But right now, these are completely gone. If you go on eBay, I see them selling right in that kind of $230 to $250 range. If you really like the aesthetic, I think that's still reasonable. These originally retailed for $189. So while it is a little bit of a markup, it's not too extreme. And honestly, if you're patient, you can probably do a little bit better. If you guys have enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. It really helps in YouTube's algorithm. Also, consider subscribing. Put watch content out weekly at a minimum, and hope to see you in the next one.